how messy it normally is. This is not really true, accurate if you went there today. And then the client room, which is where we can meet with those clients that are local. So we are now a baker's dozen of designers, project managers, production team, copywriters, and it's just, it's a great place to come and work. I always, you know, my goal is to have a place like Kate Spade. It's fun for not just our clients to want to get paper here, but for the girls, they happen to all be girls, to come and work every day. So before I close, I will just zoom through a few pieces more of my work, and then leave with just a bit of inspiration that I love from another designer who I admire, and just a few little takeaways. This is a New Year's Eve wedding, so we did these fun little save the date horn blowers that were mailed in boxes, and this little confetti packet that had all the wedding weekend information on it. This was for a Sweet 16 birthday that was taking place at a bakery, Ginger's Party, so the cannoli and the little macaroon were die cut, and they had all the copy on the back of each little piece, and it was mailed in this bakery bag, which was then mailed in a custom pattern lined envelope. I saved the date for a wedding taking place in Saratoga, so there was that underlying horse racing theme. Fun copy like call to the post in gold foil stamped on the envelope, and the bride and groom happened to share the last name of a Z. So it was Team Z on everything, and the red, white, black. This was a wedding that happened to take place on Halloween, so we had a lot of fun with the justified type, the heavy black and white with the spiders crawling out behind the stamp. Loved doing things interactive with the stamp. I think a lot of the stationers in my field for a long time didn't really think about the carrier envelope. It was more of an afterthought, and to me, I almost enjoy the envelope more than the interior. Just I feel like as you're walking from your mailbox to the kitchen, you're experiencing a lot of time with this piece, and so the calligraphy and the handwriting and the stamp and all that is very, very important to us. We do a lot of destination weddings. So we do a lot of beach-themed weddings, and it's you know, it's always a challenge to come up with a way that's a twist on, like, you know, your seashells and all that. But this happened just to be one of my favorites. Our signature is a little bit more of having the invitation itself be a little bit more classic, so therefore when the bride pulls it out in 10 years, they feel like that they weren't too trendy, that they made a good decision, and it's going to be more of a timeless design. But then these ancillary items, having a lot more fun, like the little sailboat has Almost Married behind it, and the little belly band is holding the details for like the brunch and the welcome party. This one actually happened to be around Halloween too. I don't know why I have two slides around Halloween brides, but I do. So it was like a little masquerade party. This was a story we designed exclusively for Martha Stewart Weddings. They picked 5 stationers to to design their own perspective of an invitation based on a fashion story, and we were given the fashion category of black tie. So our response to this was the clean lines on a tuxedo, you know, the cuffs turned back, and so this had a 3D element where we peeled back these layers and it showcased the ceremony information and then the RSVP. And you could actually pull out that little black tab that had a fun little quote on it. Just a fun save the date for a summer party. We looked at their inspiration was the Maritime Hotel in New York, which has these fabulous circular windows. So, and their branding, which was this cobalt and white, a really striking combo. A booklet for a baby shower. So the mother-to-be's last name started with A. So there were all these little A graphics sprinkled throughout, like the anchor and the alligator and the apple and the airplane. And there was this little hole that we strategically placed on each spread, so you could kind of see a sneak peek into the next spread. A vintage wedding invitation that took place at the Bowery Hotel in New York City, which kind of in the Five Points area. So we looked at a lot of you know, vintage maps and vintage typography as our solution for that. The little Bowery man on the little gray reply envelope is the identity for the hotel. So he had an appearance, kind of like a little bit of a, you know, Where's Waldo effect. This was an invitation for the St. Louis Public Library. Every year they do a gala. Actually, every other year their gala is the Stranger Than Fiction Gala, and it's always based on a book theme. And the year that we designed this last year, 2013, it was Wizard of Oz. So the Yellow Brick Road actually pulled out of the envelope. It was attached to the bottom. We were able to pull out this Yellow Brick Road that had all of event details put on it. And again, we love copywriting. I mean, we feel like our work, if it doesn't have great copywriting in it, it's just not as successful as it could be. I think it's also a response for that is when I would design on the early days, I would always ask people for the copy, and they're like, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. So just out of having placeholders for things, you started getting good at making up copy for people. You know, and obviously you can't make up, you know, the groom's name and things like that, but like the fun little aspects. And so like which witch are you is like a fun little sticker that we put on the outside. This was for a wedding who the client asked for, told us that her wedding theme was rocker chic. That was a new one. So, so this looked at a lot of tattoo art, yet it was going to be very, very formal. And so the silver and the copper metallic was a response to add that black tie with attitude is actually what the attire was. So I'd love to see pictures of people in their black tie with attitude. This is an invitation that's going to be in Martha Stewart in the spring. It was actually, we've gotten into a lot more 3D invitations. It's just not good enough to send out something in an envelope anymore. So a lot of our clients are wanting something that's three-dimensional to arrive at people's doorstep and really make it separated from, you know, your daily mail and the bills and all that. So this is just, we had all these little kaleidograph cards that had a little bit of the information on each card, and we stacked up these coasters in this little tray. And all the typography came together as one unit. And this background pattern was based off these geometric tiles. And then she actually had synchronized swimmers at her wedding. So these synchronized swimmers are in there and their little geometric orientation. Or again, that little hidden detail that you hope that, you know, the majority of the guests see. This was a very early invitation that I designed in 2008. It was black and white, very sharp, interesting, unexpected format, the long and skinny with the black thread and the fun pattern liner. And then finally, I have here this is actually my daughter's birth announcement. So I've always loved those Russian nesting dolls. And again, we definitely pride ourselves in making the paper, the snail mail experience as interactive as possible. Because with things going so much online, we just want to keep the excitement alive with snail mail to keep it alive and well forever. So this idea was that these little envelopes had my daughter's name, her stats, the little monogram, and had to open them all to get to the little booklet of images inside. So that you're not leaving with my daughter's birth announcement as the last slide of today, I will just finish up with a bit of inspiration and a couple things that have really helped me sort of pave the way to where I currently am with my business. I received this promotional piece in the mail a couple weeks ago. It was produced by the paper supply company Veritiv, and they interviewed 25 Chicago designers. And they asked them if they took the word truth, what truth in design means to them. And so I've kept this book by my nightstand. I've read it several times. They're just these little, they're not too long, and everyone's perspective in the book is just really inspiring. And Chris Scholes, who has a firm in Chicago, a lot of web design, he said, truth is about being faithful in your talent, constant in your commitment, and loyal to your passions. And I just love that trio of words together, that faithful, committed, and passionate. I love those three words, and I feel like that, you know, sometimes I lose sight of that, and so I'm definitely gonna cut that out and frame that and put that by my desk. Finally now, really to close. I keep saying I'm gonna close. This is it, it's grand finale. So I think looking back as I was coming here today and thinking about really sort of other than just showing a snapshot of one designer's look on where they are in their career is some things I think if I were a college student again, what I would tell somebody. And so I have just 5 little bits of advice. The first one being just look around. I mean, that sounds so simple, but you know, there's obviously blogs, and you know, you probably know how to get in the deep dark places of the internet to find inspiration, and that's a great place too. But also just looking around and looking up at the architecture. I love tile formations. I'm always being inspired by that. Taking a different way home from work is always really great. Taking a different way home on campus. As I now have kids, I have less time to look for that kind of stuff. I just try to be as observant in my daily life. Then I would say be active in your community. One of the first projects that I did when I moved back was for the St. Louis Public Library, and it was a pro bono piece. And I was like, oh, when I did it, so many hours. I was like, oh, this is painful. It was awful. I wasn't getting paid, and but they actually had a committee of a lot of movers and shakers in St. Louis, and a lot of people that could give me business down the road, and it all came full circle as now I have the St. Louis Library account for all the gala invitations. So that would be, I would say, be active in your community. Kind of also really goes to number 3 about take on a project for free. You know, I did this in my spare time when I was in New York. I was taking on a lot of these free projects, and if you love it, it doesn't feel as much like work, and that's a great way to build up your portfolio in a way that maybe you're not allowed that opportunity with, you know, paying jobs. And explore different job concentrations. As I mentioned earlier, you know, I went from Pentagram to advertising. I tried, you know, I was doing a lot of environmental signage at Pentagram, and then I went to advertising and tried that, and then now I've decided that really my concentration is print, and more specific than that, it's stationery. So I think that, you know, a lot of students worry about being job jumpers, but I think that you really don't know sort of what specific direction you could go. So I think exploring those different job concentrations, if they can be with an internship, great, but if not, it's okay to, you know, to have these little appetizers of concentrations when you are at school. And the last one, which sounds so trivial, but really, be yourself. You know, when I have students come in for interviews and they're a little bit nervous, you know, it's okay, I enjoy that. I mean, it's like, I was that way, and I had sweaty hands, I would be like, oh my gosh, there's gonna be sweat coming from my hands, I'm like, I'd probably be a mess. And you know, it's just being yourself, and just, I think can just take you a really, really long way. So, that's it. Thank you guys for having me.